Hey, it's Brian Sebastian, Movie Reviews and More, Hollywood Film Festival. We decided today to come to a real artist's house. You like that I call you a real artist? Because you are. You are a real artist. And for the audience who doesn't know who you are but knows who you are, give us your name.
I'm Janet Bernson.
And what makes you special? Because I've seen special things here. This is why we came to your house.
Well, I make art out of trash. So there's no, can we say this on the air? There's no shit, it's just compost. Everything in our lives can be transformed.
But that's what it is. And that's what makes it special. And then, so even coming into your backyard, what is here? What do we have? Because it's special, obviously.
Well, this is called a horseshoe garden. And there is...
A real horseshoe garden.
Well, yeah, it is a horseshoe garden. And there is a composting area right in the middle of the horseshoe. Or if it were a horseshoe, it would be the toe of the horseshoe. And everything is growing, and it's growing really quickly because it's optimal conditions. And I use compost here as I use trash in my art. So I make a beautiful garden. I make beautiful pieces of art.
And I saw some beautiful pieces last week, too. What makes it special when we go into your studio, when we're about to show the audience? What makes your art special? Because I like the fact that it comes from recycle or just regular trash.
Well, I walk with my dogs. In fact, one of them is lying down at my feet. I walk with my dogs every day, walk and run with them. And when I'm walking and running, I pick up trash. And sometimes it's really funky and I don't use it. And other times it's okay. I can wash it off and I'll use it. I have a new collection of pieces that I'm working on right now, and it's called To Go. And all the pieces are made out of to-go containers.
Oh, see, that's pretty cool. That's really cool.
But it doesn't look like the containers anymore after I'm finished with it, which is really what I'm trying to get across, is that instead of just throwing things away, that we get more conscious about how we can transform them and maybe not even use those things that we're pitching and causing, islands of trash in the ocean, etc. And I've been an environmentalist for a lot of years, way before it was
hip.
And I love doing it. I love making the art. The other thing is that I've worked with trauma survivors for probably about 30 years. And in working with them, I use that same theory that every experience we've had can be transformed. So even though you want to get rid of it, maybe you don't get rid of it exactly. Maybe you transform it instead and make your life a beautiful garden.
Now, when we go inside to see your art, you're going to show us what's going on with your art and what you have coming up, because you have an art show coming up.
Yes, I have a show coming up November 12th through the 18th at Theater 68. Theater 68.
I was one off, and I'm doing this all off the top of our head.
Well, it was started, actually, Theater 68 was started by Ronnie Marmo, who's an actor. He's pretty famous with people who like General Hospital and other films. But he started with 68 cents in his pocket. And Ronnie and I became friends over the years. My partner was a member of the theater company. When he passed, Ronnie was right there for me, and I've been right there for him to do things, get his shows promoted, etc. And I'm using the flexible space at Theater 68 in North Hollywood. It's on Lankershim. I don't remember the address, but maybe you'll announce it at some point. And it's near Magnolia Boulevard. So I'm doing the show there in the flexible space, and it's a great space because it's a very creative space, and my work has a story with it as well. So it's not just visual arts, but it's also the written word as well.
Okay. And with that, we're going to follow her in and go see her art and check it out. I look forward to seeing this.
So, welcome to the studio. So, it's I'm working on a new piece. This is part of the To Go series. This is all To Go containers that have been transformed, and I'll show you just a second, and I'll get my plastic. About the earth, and I have one piece that, this piece in particular is called Global Warming, and it's, instead of the global warmingness being unconscious about the way we're treating our planet, that people are sending love and attention to our planet. And these are pieces from the bottom of plastic to-go containers, and that's actually the covering of the earth there that's been modified with paint and other pieces of plastic. I have a plastic pen that I use sometimes. That's really kind of neat. And all of these pieces were this size to start, and then I put them in the oven, and they shrank to that. Actually, they were a little bigger than this.
Talk about the colors. Where did the colors come from? Because I love the colors. And the colors on you also.
Oh, thanks. Well, there's blue in my hair. I guess I'm going through my blue period. I don't know. I love color. I think we talked not too long ago, and I said I don't have a particular favorite color, but colors do talk to me about, what I'm going to be making. And when I figured it was the earth, I was going to get as real as I could. So I got pictures from NASA, the National Aeronautic Space Administration. I took those pictures, and then I used them to make my Earths here. And then I'll show you another piece that I have, which I'm going to walk behind you and show you. And actually, if you want to just come around and see this, so this one is called Earth Suffers a Heart Attack, Evil Flees. And evil is falling out of the earth, and it has pierced the veil of secrecy and evil, etc. It's pierced that, and it's broken it, and now evil is escaping as the hearts attack the earth lovingly.
That's pretty cool.
Well, thank you. I think it is too. I love it. I love making this.
Will this be one of the pieces that you show, maybe?
Yes, it will. And when you see it, of course, I thought it was kind of creepy as I was making it because the evil was crawling out. And then I thought, that's okay. The hearts are there. They'll be fine.
But don't you have to show the good and bad? Or actually, it really doesn't matter because it's an artist of whatever you're creating, right?
Well, you don't have to show anything. I mean, as an artist, you can do whatever you want, really. And what do they say? Beauty is in the eye of the beholder. So is ugliness. And it depends on what you're feeling, what you see. There's, I listen to people when they look at my art, and I hear such a myriad of comments that very few people will agree on a specific subject. They'll look at it, and whatever's going on inside of them will be reflected by what they see there. So...
what else you have?
Well, okay. Well, that's a picture of me when I was a little kid. But this here, here's one. This one is called Hot Dog on a Stick. And so I said that everything is made out of old to-go containers and to-go items. And all of this there's a chopstick, and this was made from a styrofoam container, and this is from a plastic container. And I mean, everything here you'll see. Well, this one is always good. We just had that eclipse, right? So this is sun eclipsed by the moon. and
now that's funny.
Thank you very much. I thought it was too. And then here's caught, and they're plastic fish that have caught a human, which I thought would be
now nice. That's creative.
Well, thank you very much. I thought that would switch.
You don't see that one. I like that, and I like the colors.
Thank you. Yeah, there are an assortment of colors there. And then when I was after the election, I was very angry, and I thought, well, what am I going to do with all of this anger? Well, of course, what do? I create art. So I created a piece about my anger, and then I decided that I couldn't stay with my anger for too long, that I needed to transform it. And so I transformed it into forgiveness. And so that was taking the anger away and being able to see things with more compassion. Oh, you're looking at this. It's called The Great Dilemma. Which came first?
Yeah.
Okay.
What do you think?
I don't think it matters.
I've never heard that before. That's pretty good. Because does it? It doesn't.
I mean, should we waste our time on that?
No. But I like what you just said. It doesn't matter.
Yeah. It's the great dilemma. People are always trying to figure it out and trying to, well, they want to find out where we began. Well, what about where are we now?
Good point.
And then this piece is called Creativity, see? And it's also made of that these were much bigger figures, and they shrank down in the oven. When you were a kid, you probably played with shrinky dinks, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, that's just the same kind of plastic. So, yeah. And then I will show you one other thing, because I think it's really cool. So, here's my door that separates my apartment from my studio. This wood was part of a shelving unit, actually several shelving units, and I decided that rather than throw them away, because they were starting to fall apart, that I would make this door. And the wheels on the track here were skateboard wheels.
Yes.
Or actually rollerblade wheels.
And you used to do something with horseshoes, you said, too, right?
Yeah, I used to be in the farrier and blacksmith supply business. So I had a lot of horseshoes. In fact, I made that one. That one I made.
How long did it take?
Forged. You asked me that question before about how long does something take. Well, this one actually took probably about 2 hours.
Well, I ask because people who are artists or aren't artists, they have no idea. It could take you months, years, or weeks to do something.
Some things do, and it just depends on what I'm feeling and how I'm processing things, and if I want to avoid doing it or if I'm busy doing something else. And then there are times when I'm having a real hard time figuring out how to make it work, and it just depends on what it is. Yeah, and also it depends, like I said, on how much time I have on my hands, or what kind of a deadline I have. Like now I have a deadline. I've got to get a lot of stuff done before the show, because all of these pieces are going to have stories with them, and they currently, I think only half of them have stories.
Talk about your website real quick, why people may be looking at your art right now.
Well, they can go to my website, which is janetbernson.com. They can also go to my Healing Arts website, which talks about
which is important.
Which talks about the work that I do with trauma survivors. I see people individually, and I also go into shelters or into schools, etc. And I use the arts. I've written a couple of books. One book from my last show, which is called Every Picture Tells a Story. And I have one piece out right now from that show. This one is called Mother Lotus. And this is a lotus giving birth to another lotus. Well, actually, this is the lotus giving birth to another lotus, which is giving birth to another lotus, which is giving birth to another one. And it's really about the process of thought. And the story is inside. Each of these pieces has a story inside.
So if I remember correctly, your stuff, when you open it, folds out, right? There's a story, right?
Well, this particular group does. Every picture tells a story. The pieces I just showed you won't do that. They'll have another form of story.
And I like this because I personally have never seen this like this. I like this.
Thank you. Well, there are a lot of pieces. There were 42 pieces. I think a couple of them have been sold, but they are in my book. Every Picture Tells a Story. And then I also have another book called Unmasking the Soul, and that's a process using the masks as a metaphor for feelings, thoughts, ideas.
When I started reading that one, and I read the other one, and I gave them to two of my friends, their kids.
Thank you.
What was the square and the heart?
Okay.
Really nice, really interesting. I could relate to that.
Thank you. The Square is a book that I wrote many years ago, and it's about a square who can't find his or her heart and looks everywhere for it. And
now, you wanted me to give this to, my friend Sasha, who is 11, but I looked at it like there was no age limit on it of how I read it.
No, it's not. It it's ageless, really. But a lot of people will look at it and they'll say, oh, it's a little picture book. It's really not for...
Interesting story there.
Yeah, it is. Because a lot of us look everywhere but inside ourselves. And really, we have the answers.
The painting on the wall, what are those?
Okay, so the lamp was actually a maypole. And when I got married many years ago with my second husband... we took the maypole down, and I kept the ribbon and then turned it into a lamp. So it's...
How long you had it for? Is it still standing?
Years. Of course it's
amazing.
Of course it's still standing. It's made out of metal.
You can't tell. Yeah. That's interesting.
Yeah. And then the other piece was actually how I found how we found each other, my second husband and I. My daughter told me to get the personals, because that was before Match.com or whatever. And she said, get the personals. And I said, well, I'm not going to do things that way. So I took the personals and made it into an art piece. And the piece, the woman had a long arm. It's gone now. But when it had the arm, she was reaching up and she was lassoing this green being out of the green earth and the countryside below. And she was lassoing him, and there was a bluebird flying overhead, and that's since fallen off. I've decided I'm not putting it back on. But anyway, I met my second husband that way, and his name happened to have been Peter Green-E. And he was from Ireland, the Green Land. I did not know that. I didn't expect it. And I think that probably I could say that a lot of my art is prophetic.
How did you get into art, and what do you say about artists that are up and coming these days? Do they have the same vision, or does everybody have the same vision, or are they just seeing things on the internet and they think they can draw an art? Paint.
Well, everybody is an artist as far as I'm concerned. I think that everyone is creative. It just depends on the kind of creativity that you wish to express. People could be creative and negative and nasty and, etc. They can wake up in the morning and say, oh, God, I feel sick. And then they can create this whole era or aura, rather, of
creating your own reality.
Yeah. So as far as other artists, I can't speak for them. I can only speak for myself, and sometimes I don't even know whether I can do that. But art for me is the only way that I have found, and not just visual art, but all of the arts are a way for me to express myself. I've never been a particularly straight line person. I've always felt that my unique idea about life was interesting, which is a good thing because I'm stuck with me.
Well, you are interesting, but I also think you have to be comfortable, and the artists that I met aren't comfortable, so they create different things.
Well, everybody is on their own path. Right. I've done a lot of deep emotional work personally.
Right, and that's why it makes sense, yes.
And I've also worked with a lot of people, many people who through their trauma have chosen to either evolve or to stay in their victimhood. And there's usually nothing in between. So it's either thrive or survive. I choose to thrive. And I love being around people who choose to thrive also, because survival is just basic.
And before we go, talk about your books again and your website and the show coming up and your last show you did.
Well, I did a show in March at Theater 68 also in the Flex Space.
You had a great turnout.
It was a huge turnout. I was so surprised because it was the first time I've ever really shown my work. I've always been working with other people to promote what they were doing to help them using the power of art. But when my partner passed away in 2012, I decided that I was going to have to work with myself and heal myself using those tools that I told everybody else, practice what you preach. So I have two websites. My first website, the one that I started originally, was thehealingartist.com, and that's for my healing arts work and also for public speaking, because I do speak to groups about the arts and about healing. And then my arts website is janetbernson.com, and it's Bernson, janetbernson.com. And my books are Unmasking the Soul. God, I feel like I'm doing a sales pitch. I guess I am.
You are.
And Here's Every Picture Tells a Story. And
You even have it in Spanish.
And not every picture, but The Square and El Cuadrado, which is the square in Spanish, and that's about finding your heart or your corazón.
So, your upcoming show again, the dates, so everybody knows.
Show is November 12th from noon to 5. It's a Sunday, and then through the week, Monday through Saturday, it's from 6 to 10. And it's at Theater 68 in the NoHo on Lancashire Boulevard, just south of Magnolia.
And we got a couple people coming who I told today about it on the way over here, so they're going to come and help support.
Cool. That's great. Thank you.
All right, this is Brian Sebastian, Movie Reviews and More. We're going to see Janet on our show, Halloween, and talk about why we chose Halloween.
Thank you very much. Oh, you want me to talk about it now? Mm-hmm. Oh, okay. So Max Middleton was my partner for about 8 years, and he died of cancer 5 years ago. And his birthday was on Halloween. And he used to say that every Halloween everybody was celebrating and passing out candy because it was his birthday.
That's pretty cool. I like that. So I changed my whole show because of Janet and Max. So that's going to be interesting now.
Yeah, he was a great guy. And it's because of him that I started honoring myself and my art.
And with that, we will see you Halloween, Tuesday, October 31st. That's going to be a fun show. We'll see you later.